Hello, my name is Meiju. Welcome to watch my knitting tutorial. In this video I am going to show you how to make a neat bind-off for a button band and even finish the edges, down and upper edges of this button band with the same bind-off continuously as the button band. So what I have done with the other button band here is that I have done a tubular bind off with double knitting and force knitting before the tubular or Italian bind off. So basically this is tubular bind off, since there is this tube knit here before I have made the Italian bind off. I have a tutorial on my tutorials playing list of this bind off and Italian bind off, so you can look them more closely. In this video I am concentrating how to do this bind off in a way that I can incorporate the bottom and the top. This is actually the the top edge of the band to this continuous bind off. So what I have here is the button band in which I have the buttonholes already, and I have picked up stitches from the front pieces of this cardigan. So I have picked up the button band stitches here, and then I have just worked the ribbing to the certain length, and then I have done 2 rows of the enforced knitting, the double knitting, which means that I basically knit always the knit stitch and slip the purl stitch with yarn in front. I will show you soon that also. But before that I have to incorporate this bottom edge of the button band to also to this knitting. So basically when I usually, because I'm right-handed knitting and I should pick up stitches from here, I should start picking up stitches here and continue from right to left. But since I have my working yarn here, it's coming from here, I have to do, I should continue here, the right side row, so I should do the picking up the wrong way from left to right. So what I will do is that I will put my needle from the edge, and then I'm picking up a stitch there, putting it on the needle, and just to help with the counting I'm pulling my needle a little bit so I can find where I started to pick up the stitches. So I have picked up 1 stitch there, so here is another one. So basically I'm just picking up the stitches and putting them on the needle. I'm going to every stitch here and skipping some rows, so to get an even edge. 4 stitches, 7, 8, let's see. So I have knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. This is enough. So 8 stitches. So now I will show you how the double knitting goes, and I'm just incorporating it to the edge. So I'm continuing this as one row. So basically what I do is I knit the first stitch, slip the purl stitch with yarning front, knit, you can bring the yarn in front, slip the purl stitch. So knit, slip the purl stitch, knit, slip the purl stitch, knit, slip the purl stitch, knit, slip the purl stitch. Now I'm already in the ribbing, so I continue with this knit, slip, purl stitch with yarn in front until I'm at the end of the row, and when I'm here I will show you how to work this edge, top edge of the button band. Okay, now I'm at the end of the row, so I have done the double knitting until the end of the row. I am on the top edge of this cardigan, so this is the neckline. So I want it to be really neat. So basically at this end I'm just picking up the stitches as I normally would when I pick up stitches at the end or this side. So basically I can go with the same direction as I usually would. So I just put my needle from the edge stitch and pick up stitches. Now since the last stitch was a knit stitch here, so this will be purl stitch when I change the ribbing. Knit, purl, it doesn't matter here, but I just have to count that I will pick up the right amount of stitches. So here I have 8 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 8. I can pull my needle, and now I have all the stitches of this row, also the ones on the bottom and at the one row. Then I turn my work and continue this way in double knitting, since I'm doing the last row before I change to my Italian bind off. So I will show you how it's done. Okay, on this row, since I picked up 8 stitches and the last stitch when before I started to pick up stitches was a knit stitch, so I have to start with a purl stitch. So basically what I'm doing is I'm slipping the first one, which is a purl stitch, with yarn in front. Then I'm knitting, slip, yarn in front, knit, 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 slip, yarn in front, and so on. So basically I'm working to the end of this row at the end, and then I'm changing to Italian bind off, which I will show you after I've reached the end of the row. Okay, now I have reached the end of the last row, wrong side row of this button band, and I can start the real bind off. I'm working Italian bind off in flat, so I have cut my yarn and I have made sure that it's at least 3 times as long as the button band, and a little bit extra too, so it won't be too tight. I have a needle that has a blunt top. Okay, now I'm starting the Italian bind off. So basically as flat. This is basically the same as Italian bind off in the round, only that we have to deal with the first 2 stitches and last 2 stitches slightly differently. So I'm going first knitwise to the first stitch, pulling the yarn through. Then I'm and leaving the first stitch on the needle. Then I'm going behind this stitch, so not in the middle but behind, and I'm going knitwise to the next purl stitch, pulling the yarn through. Then I'm going again knitwise to the same first stitch and pulling it off the needle, and then purlwise to the next knit stitch, skipping the purl stitch in between, pulling the yarn. Then I'm going purlwise to the purl stitch, purlwise to the purl stitch, and then knitwise to the next purl stitch. So I'm skipping this knit stitch, I'm going behind it, knitwise to the next purl stitch. And now we are on the repeat. So this is the repeat that continues to the end. So I'm going knitwise to the knit stitch, drop it off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, skipping the purl stitch. And then purlwise to the purl stitch, skipping the knit stitch, going knitwise to the next purl stitch from behind the knit stitch. That's the repeat. So one more time. Knitwise to the knit stitch, slip it off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, pull the yarn through, purlwise to the purl stitch, slip it off, go behind the knit stitch, knitwise to the purl stitch, pull the yarn through. That's the repeat. One more time. Knitwise, slip off, purlwise, purlwise, slip off, go behind the knit stitch, knitwise to the purl stitch, pull the yarn through. And this is how you continue until you have 2 stitches left, and I will show you what happens then. Okay, now I have reached the last 3 stitches. I actually have here a knit, purl and knit stitch at the end. So basically I'm going to do one more repeat. So I will go knitwise to the knit stitch and then purlwise to the next knit stitch. And then I'm going purlwise to the purl stitch, slipping it off, and then I'm going again knitwise to the last knit stitch, like that. So this is the end, and when you weave the end you can kind of combine the ends with this, so it will make a neat and nice nice edge there. Thank you for watching.